All right, so yeah, we're back. And it's been a minute, but no, I was not in rehab. No, I did not die. I was busy. Mostly busy busting my hump. Like everyone else, working, living. And no, there's not going to be some big emotional monologue. I didn't have a breakthrough in the desert. I wasn't hiking in the mountains with monks. I was just doing other shit. Life got loud and turned off the mic for a bit, but we're back. I'm going to keep it consistent, or at least pretend I will, which to me is basically the same thing. But let's get into our first episode back. The news is still stupid. People are dumber. Everything costs more than it should. Not much has changed. So let's get into something that is truly dividing this country right now, that's tearing families apart. I'm not talking about politics. I'm not talking about vaccines. I'm talking about Happy Gilmore 2. Yes, it finally happened. And first of all, we got to stop and acknowledge the fact that the original movie has came out almost 30 years ago. That is nuts. We're getting older. But the good news, Adam Sandler is still screaming in a windbreaker, and it still hits. So I watched it the night it came out, and here's the honest review. It was a fine film. It was not incredible. It was not terrible. It's not going to win awards, and it's not going to end up on the Criterion Collection next to Seven Samurai. But it was exactly what it needed to be. It was a decent, chaotic, throwback comedy, legacy sequel that had good cameos, solid tributes to the old film, and some new funny gags that went with it. It was exactly what I was expecting it to be. But of course, some people on here are going absolutely bonkers with this. And they're acting like this movie was a war crime on themselves. Worst film I've ever seen. Completely unwatchable. How could they do this to us after all this time? No one did anything to you. It was Happy Gilmore 2, okay? The first movie had Bob Barker beating the shit out of Adam Sandler. It wasn't exactly art to begin with, and it never was supposed to be. It was a dumb, fun sports comedy about a guy with rage issues on the golf course, professionally, with a hockey stick. It was the sequel was not exactly supposed to be a revelation. And also, I don't think it was a disaster. I really don't. And if this is what is pushing you over the edge, respectfully, you need to go touch grass. Probably physically outside. Touch a lawn, rethink some things. This country's got all kinds of problems, and a golf comedy sequel starring Adam Sandler and John Daly is not going to be in the top 5,000. So some of it was ridiculous. I didn't like the bad guy in the film, the guy that was trying to get him to go to the other golf league. I didn't buy the character. I didn't think it was very funny. Part of what made the first film great was that Shooter McGavin is the enemy in the film, but he was like, I don't know, at least to me, was a likable guy. It's a good character. I didn't buy the second character. The CGI film, the CGI ending when they're actually golfing at the end was a little weird too. Probably didn't need that. It reminded me a little bit too much of the other Adam Sandler movie, Pixels. But for the most part, it was solid. Those are my only main gripes. So another thing people were losing their mind about was that, yeah, his wife Virginia died right away. He accidentally kills his wife with a golf ball in the first 10 seconds. Which, again, sounds insane, but it fits. It's all about consistency. A lot of people didn't pick up on this. The first movie starts with his dad getting killed by a hockey puck in the first, minute. That's consistency. They did the same shit again. That is full circle storytelling. Hollywood needs more of that, in my opinion. That sports-themed generational trauma, I love it. And John Daly was incredible. John Daly's living in his garage, drinking vodka, drinking hand sanitizer, yelling at the squirrels. That's cinema. That's what we should be funding with our tax dollars. More John Daly in motion pictures. Like I said, the villain was a little weak. I didn't buy the character. I didn't really buy it. But the cameos were good. Eric Andre, John Lovitz. Bad Bunny is Happy Gilmore's caddy. It was great. It wasn't necessary, but I also enjoyed it. I liked it. And there was good references to like Live Golf Tour. They had like a subtle dig to the Live Tour. They played on that. The Scotty Scheffler going to jail thing, like he gets arrested in real life at a golf tournament. Now we're making jokes about it in a golf comedy a couple years later. That's how you handle a scandal. And like the whole point of this is, was it a perfect movie? No, it was not. And it wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be the sequel to Happy Gilmore. And that's what it was. It was a good sequel. If you walked in there expecting the sequel to The Seventh Seal, that's on you. Okay? Go watch The Godfather. If that's what you're looking for, go watch those films. This was not what that was. I don't know what people were expecting. Yes, the first movie was incredible. I'm not denying that. But when you actually look at it from a critical lens, it's absurd. It's absurd. I mean, this movie, it's going to the gas station and grabbing some beef jerky. That's what that is. There's a time and place for it, and when it aligns, it hits. I mean, this was not the worst Adam Sandler film. I saw this all over Twitter. I had friends saying it. People lost their minds over this. It is not the worst Adam Sandler film. Have you seen Jack and Jill? Go watch Jack and Jill. Have a marathon. Go watch Jack and Jill and then watch Happy Gilmore 2 after. And you tell me which was a better film. So yeah. I'm going to probably watch it again from time to time. It's not going to be a go-to. It's not going to be in the main rotation. But it was a good film. I can't believe people got this up in arms about it. It was for people who remember when Adam Sandler made dumb and silly, funny movies, and it didn't have to mean anything. That's what it was. So I'm not going to apologize for and enjoying a movie that did exactly what it said it was going to do. God bless Adam Sandler. God bless the game of golf. And God help anyone who took this shit too seriously. And we got some breaking news at the time of this recording. The Indianapolis Colts, my Indianapolis Colts, have named Daniel Jones our starting quarterback over Anthony Richardson. And I know a lot of people out there have their opinions on this, but I just want to say this first and foremost. I am a Daniel Jones believer, okay? I'm going to start my own cult of Danny Dimes. I'm going to be passing out Dimes 316 pamphlets at the gas station. I don't care what your eyes have told you. I don't care about his stats, the turnovers, or the entire history of Daniel Jones playing professional football. That, my friends, is loser talk. Now, here's the truth of the matter. Daniel Jones just needed a system. You hear me? New York was the problem, not Danny. It was the coaching. It was the shitty weather. It was the New York media. It was all designed to suppress his true talent. You put this man in a dome, surround him with Midwest humidity and a loyal Indiana fan base. I think he can cook. And I'm feeling good about this decision. And even when he throws 2 picks against the Jaguars, that's okay. That's just a setup. That'll be him playing chess while everyone's out there playing flag football. He's going to lure the AFC South in. He's going to be baiting the defenses. And I'm telling you, this is not delusion. This is the true vision I see with Danny Dimes. And you can call it coping, but I call it long-term quarterback awareness. Daniel Jones is more than a quarterback. He is our mirage of hope projected onto a beige wall that has been recent Colts quarterback misery. And you know what? I'm telling you, I'm staring at that wall like it's the damn Mona Lisa. So welcome to the Danny Dimes dynasty. It's time for y'all to buckle up. Here's something that recently happened in my life that has totally sucked. The Minnesota Twins, one of my favorite teams across all sports fandoms, right up there with Iowa basketball and the Denver Nuggets. A team that was once upon a time an actual semi-functional franchise who occasionally pretended to care, and by the way, won a couple of World Series during our parents' lifetimes, has completely gone down the tubes. and traded away their entire fucking team at the deadline like it was an estate sale during a divorce. Carlos Correa, who was one of my favorite Twins of all time, gone. Now batting .400 for the fucking Astros again. Bullpen, completely nuked. Payroll, slashed faster than a Netflix password ban. Complete teardown. Like someone threw the whole roster into a wood chipper and said, hey, it's rebuild season. We're all thinking going as it's happening. Okay, the Twins, they're selling the team. Maybe we'll get A-Rod to jump ship. Maybe we'll find some Saudi oil prince who has a weird baseball fetish. Someone with money. Someone who gives a shit. But no, of course not. Instead, the Pohlads, those beautiful bastards, those generationally wealthy lizard people who've been running this fucking franchise like it's a side hustle between their yacht parties, they wake up one day and go, actually, we decided we still like owning the team. We're going to bring in some new hedge fund creepos, but don't worry, we're still in charge here. We're going to keep ownership. What in the hell is that? You sell off every decent player on the team like you're clearing space out for a car in the garage. And then you turn around and go, never mind, by the way, we're going to stay. It's all part of our business plan. It's not. It's emotional abuse is what it is. Following this damn team. The first 23 years of my life, I hadn't seen my favorite baseball team win a single playoff game. They went 0-18. It's the longest losing streak in the playoffs across all the four major sports. And we finally won a game and a series. And then 2 years after that, that's supposed to be an event in the franchise that like catapults us back. And we're back. We won a playoff series. We're back. No, two years later, the entire team's gone. I mean, I'm at a loss for words. It was a classic rich guy fake out. You float the idea of change, you give everyone some false hope, and then you blow up the whole damn project and go, hey, just kidding. We're going to be here forever, assholes. And this was never about baseball. This was never about winning. This was some kind of tax strategy with a scoreboard attached. It's a way to cut costs, kill morale, and streamline the books before you tell everyone, and we're sticking around. We're going to be leaner, meaner, and we're going to have some more billionaire buddies to drink with. They completely executed a hostile takeover of Twins fans, Minnesota sports fans in general, their entire optimism. And then they try to gaslight you and pretend it's good news. What do we get? You show up to Target Field, a field that was built with the promise of like bringing good baseball to the Twin Cities. We got to get rid of the old Metrodome. It's shitty. That's not what we want. We want to have this brand new ballpark because we're a team that's legitimate. And that was 15 years ago. Now you show up, you pay $18 for a half. Like, why would you go to any game now? I mean, you show up to the game now, you're basically watching a bunch of AAA guys you'd never heard of and a bullpen full of guys who will be out of the league in 2 years, trying to top out at 93. I think the fans deserve better, but instead we got the fucking Pohlads turning the franchise into a shell company. It's some kind of Ponzi scheme. Baseball is so weird with the no salary cap, having no salary cap. It's like a Ponzi scheme with uniforms. It happens in other, I mean, you saw it happen with the A's. You saw what the Athletics have been dealing with. Pirates fans know what I'm talking about. Reds fans usually. Twins fans were never supposed to be part of this, and that's kind of what we've turned into. It always felt like the Twins were above those teams, those franchises that just like flat out don't care. But it's the true colors have been shown from the owners. This is what we're gonna get. They don't care. They don't care. It's a fancier, more upscale version of what those other teams do, what the Pirates do. Just not giving a shit. They just happen to sell hot dogs and they lose 9-2. That's the only part of it that's not. It's a money laundering operation that has vendors and a crappy product. And When attendance tanks, they'll probably turn around and blame the fans for it. The fans gave up. While you go to the game and you spend half your time Googling who the hell's on the team, Googling the names of the players on the jerseys. So that was a shitty thing that happened. If you're a Twins fan, I feel for you. I wouldn't blame you for a bit if you decided to find a different team to cheer for. I think this is just absurd. This is honestly one of the worst. I would take 18 playoff losses again over what just happened. This was awful. Rocco Baldelli signed up for another year. Give him another year extension. 2026. Halfway through this season, that's starting to go horribly. Already sign him up for next year. Great. That's what I want. That's what I want more of is Rocco Baldelli and Derek Falvey and the Polads. Now, we are going to talk a little bit of politics today. Believe me, I don't love talking about it. But if I'm going to do this podcast and I'm going to speak about stuff that's happening, that's on my mind, that gets through into my world of things, there's going to be some things in politics that happen that are just so weird and they're so relevant, they're so current that I'm going to talk about it. And I'm not going to pick sides. I'm past all that crap. I think it's all theater. I think it's all a joke. So I'm just going to approach this from what I perceive to be the truth. One of the weirdest stories has been going on in the past month, and that's, of course, the Epstein and the Trump saga that, in today's world, news comes in and it's out in a couple of days. This stuck around for weeks. It's still going on. It's died down a little bit more recently, but, this thing stuck. And, so let's just rewind this clown show. Trump's running last year's election year. Trump's running for president again. And they're interviewing him. It's probably during the summer. And they're like, are you going to unseal the JFK files? And he was like, yes. And they're like, are you going to unseal the MLK files? And he's like, you betcha. And they're like, 9/11. Yeah. Epstein files. And he pauses for a little bit. And he's like, yeah. I suppose so. But he said he's going to do it. And he brings in, when he gets elected, he brings in Kash Patel. He brings in Dan Bongino, dudes who were, content creators in the the independent media, going nuts about this whole Epstein stuff. So it's it's starting to align. A lot of people think of they're actually going to do this. And should have known right away that it was all going to be a big scam. But that was the perception. It was this is the administration that's going to be transparent. We're going to get to the bottom of this stuff. And they came out with phase one pretty shortly into the term. Forget exactly when it came out, but they're this is phase one, and they gave a fucking already redacted article from Gawker from 10 years ago that's been online in public since back when Obama was vaping in the Lincoln bedroom. This was not anything new, and they gave it to some conservative grifters, and they posted it all over social media. They just fucking cracked the Zodiac code. And everyone's like, oh my God, it's happening. This is it. The Epstein files are coming out. Phase 2 is going to come. And right after they did that, you got the world's most elaborate rug pull. The DOJ comes out, and they're like, yeah, Epstein killed himself. That's it. Case closed. There's no client list, nothing shady. Like a Law and Order episode that got canceled for being too boring. It was there's nothing to see here. Even though he was in a maximum security prison, and he's the world's most prolific fill in the blank, we still somehow lose tabs on him. Oh, the camera footage is broken too, by the way. And then then that was also part of it too. They released some footage. They're like, this is the unedited footage. There's 1 minute missing. I guess every hour at 11:59 to midnight, the camera just cuts out. And then the experts did it, and actually there's minutes, there's multiple minutes missing from this footage. So, and the whole thing you started to see the truth of what was actually going to happen. You started to see what they're actually going to do. You got Pam Bondi, Trump's personal Botox press release. She's like, we're going through all the tapes, and we're going to get to the bottom of this. We got thousands of hours of footage. And a couple months later, I forget the exact timeline, then she's saying there's no tapes. I never said tapes. I said, and she gave some bullshit answer. And then they started asking Trump about this. And then he had a meltdown. He's like, Epstein, why are you talking about Epstein? That was years ago. Who cares? And I basically saying, if you still care, you're an idiot. You're dumb. Like going after his own supporters who are like, you told us you're going to release this. Like, you're the one who said that. You stood out there promising to take down the elite cabal, and now you're acting like the guy never existed. You never knew anything about him, even though, you signed his birthday card in the 90s, wrote some weird, like, vague kind of just look that up. Look that if you didn't hear about that story. Look that up. It's just he wrote a really weird birthday card for Epstein in the 90s. That's you don't just write birthday cards for anyone. Like it was almost like a damn love letter. Dear Jeff, thanks for the memories. Love the hot tub. And then he had some weird like cryptic ending to it. And then there's photos like recently coming out of those two back in the 90s running around like they were rubbing elbows back in the day. You have, he was at Mar-a-Lago. It wasn't like he was just hanging out at Mar-a-Lago once or twice and they stole a tile and he kicked him out. Like he was there for years. Yeah, he did eventually kick him out of Mar-a-Lago, but that was after years, and that was probably, from what it sounds like, that was more of like a business related thing than anything. It's clear that the whole operation was a fucking con, a grift from the beginning. Bunch of denial, bunch of dead ends, a bunch of broken promises. Jeffrey Epstein's dead. Ghislaine Maxwell's in prison for now. She was trafficking to no one, apparently. It was just between those two. That's a good one. The helpful government always comes to the rescue with the truth. And meanwhile, the files have long probably been shredded. And Donald Trump's telling you that you're the idiot out here for even asking. And just keep in mind, you're not crazy. We live in a world that's run by people who think that you're too stupid to remember what they even promised you. And like this has gone past like conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy, man. When there's multiple underage victims, naming specific powerful men, given timelines, describing the places, the rooms where all this went down to the freaking wallpaper. And, then the government comes out and says, well, we don't have any of this. There's nothing here. There's nothing here to see. And Trump, do I know that he went to the island? Do we know? No, we don't know that. But do you think I saw? Do you think I believe he saw what Epstein was up to and went, oh, no thanks, not for me. No thanks, Jeffrey. I'm going to stay in and do a crossword puzzle tonight. Absolutely not. This guy was running around there. These dudes were like best friends, man. Like he was in the Epstein cinematic universe. You can't erase that as much as he wants to try. I mean, like I said, he followed him to Mar-a-Lago. They were running around New York City back in the 90s. And like this isn't gone past conspiracy. This is not a conspiracy. Like, you know what else used to be conspiracies? The CIA bringing cocaine in the inner cities. That was a conspiracy. The NSA spying on us. No, it's a conspiracy. The government would never lie to you about war in Iraq. Remember those conspiracies? But sure, the billionaire sex traffic who had dirt on half the frickin' world's elite just happened to die mysteriously with no client list and a maximum security prison when no one's supposed to lose eyesight on him and there's no accountability. But the bottom line is the elite is going to protect the elite always. We just got to accept it. They closed the book on Epstein because they were the fucking co-authors. That's the bottom line. All right, I promise it's not all doom and gloom. Let's close up shop. Let's end on a high note. A real American note. College football is back, baby. We made it. We survived the dog days. That stretch of summer where the only live sport is a Tuesday Tigers game and someone trying to talk to you like you care about the NL wildcard race. It's been dark. Don't get me wrong. I'm a baseball fan through and through. It's one of my favorite sports. But still, it's tough. Especially when your team's out of it. There's dark days. August in general is just one of the least. I hate August. August is a shit month in my opinion. But the light is here. And that light is going to be the pigskin, foam fingers, and grown men screaming at 19-year-old kickers. And week 0 is this Saturday. And you know what? Is it a full slate? No. But you got a little meat and potatoes there. It's something a little special. And there's something sacred on this week 0 Saturday. Something me and my buddy Jackson Dietz, we were circling this on the calendar months ago, baby. I'm talking about Stanford and Hawaii. 6:30 p.m. CBS. That's prime time. I'm going to get a big gas station soda. We're going to get two screens going because the Kansas game is going to be on the other one. But the main TV, that's Hawaii, Stanford. The Rainbow Warriors are going to throw 48 passes into the ocean. Week 0 spirit between Stanford and Hawaii at 6:30. There's going to be sweat. There's going to be a whole lot of punts. I bet there's going to be a missed extra point. We're going to be watching guys who are homegrown from Oahu. And like I said, Dietz and I were talking about this game the whole offseason. We're literally saying, August 23rd, don't make plans. People out here talking about fucking Georgia and Bama in November. I'm talking Stanford and Hawaii, week 0, 6:30 CBS. You fucking hear me? And you know what will make my week 0 Saturday perfect? Picture this. The Cyclones and the Jayhawks both play, and they both lose. That's my ideal day. Forget the war, forget inflation. I just want the Cyclones and the Jayhawks to get their asses kicked on week 0. That will be some peace in my world. That will be healing. And that's what the world needs from week 0. And then after that carnage, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to put my feet up. I'm going to watch the Stanford Cardinal and the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors week 0 engage in a battle. So, bring on week 0. Iowa State, I think they're in trouble. I will be cheering for Kansas State this weekend. But that's all I got for today. I'll see you freaks next week. Maybe not. Maybe I'll go another year without posting. We shall see.